Fellow Toastmasters, welcome guest, and birthday boy. I'll never forget the first day Bob Dye walked through the doors at Hershaw Toastmasters back in 1994. And Isabel explained exactly how she met Bob, and it was the first paragraph of my speech. What she didn't say is, we asked Bob to stand up and explain why he was there. And he related exactly what Isabel did. The difference was that it took him 8 minutes, which played havoc with our agenda. After 2 decades of Toastmasters, I'm happy to say that Bob is now, I like to refer to him as Bob Dye version 2.0, or Turbo Bob. Bob arrived with a lot of good qualities. It showed in one of his first speeches. It was in regards to Bob's adventures on a ladder. Bob, you can see he was an engineer. His sentences were action-orientated, very descriptive. You could paint a picture, but Bob went one step further. He did arrive an hour before the meeting, got out the flip chart, and actually drew an image to help illustrate his point. And fortunately, I went on the internet and I was able to find it. I suspect there's some jealous Toastmaster took it for their own. One of Bob's outstanding qualities is Bob loves to help. Not just mentor people, he goes beyond that. Whenever we had a situation where more than one speaker was required, it was always Bob volunteered for the role. One particular speech was for Mary Mahadio, who was doing her Speaking to Inform. The speech, I believe, was called Let the Hips Talk. Oh, hips don't lie, pardon me. And anyway, about 30 seconds into the speech, the door flew open. And who hooted across the room but Bob Dye? It was easy to see his talents. It was easy to see almost everything else. Because Bob Dye was wearing a crown of flowers, a loincloth, and red stilettos. It was evident that Bob had talent. Mary could not have selected a better partner, because Bob not only had the talent, the moves, Bob also had the legs. Now we had, way back, a chap by the name of Patrick Henley. And Patrick lived up near Orangeville. As a matter of fact, he was one of the founders of the Orangeville Toastmasters Club. He had acreage and had horses. He was going to do a speech on how to ride a horse. About 10 seconds into his speech, Bob walked right up to the front, got down on all fours, and Patrick mounted him. I was shocked. I had my Casio sports watch. I timed it. It took Bob only 1 minute and 14 seconds to do 1 lap of that large room. Now, that may not sound like a lot, but take into consideration, Bob was quick on the straightaways, but he had to slow right down for the 4 corners for fear of throwing Patrick, because, of course, he's riding bareback. That was Bob's, I think, one of his finest roles. And I'll show you who Bob was. There he is. Bolt. That was Bob's role for the day. What was surprising is I was helping clean up after. It was actually, they had a supply room. So I was taking some things in the supply room when I overheard Patrick saying, "Man, there's a lot of life still in that old boy. It could be years before we put him out to stud." I was never sure who he was talking about. But perhaps the best Bob story I can think of. We had a lady by the name of June Porter. June had one of the most unusual jobs I've ever heard of. June trained ladies in retail on how to fit women properly for bras. She decided that Bob would be her model. In all sincerity, would not have been my first choice. I called June, and she told me everything she could about it. And June did a great speech. She not only went into details about every single part of the bra, but its function and how it related to a great fit. And she gave me the model number. And that was what Bob wore. I should explain, Bob's was a 32A. I'm not sure if that's a 32A or not. But Bob did a magnificent job. And again, I thought, that's Bob, how can he be so good? And it's obviously he analyzes stuff. And I figured it out. He did what I did. I went to Google and typed in Victoria's Secrets. And after looking at images for about an hour, I was able to make the connection. You see, I guess at modeling school, there are certain poses they're taught. And Bob had them down pat. There was, you may have seen this one, a bird. Then there was what was that again? But my all-time favorite, where Bob knocked it out of the park, was, I should explain that June was a little confused because this particular bra comes in 2 different versions. They look identical, you can't tell them apart, so I can understand her problem. I think the only person that can answer this is Bob. Bob, can you recall the bra you wore? Was it wireless or did it have the undercut wires? Anyway, Bob, there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is my speech is almost over. The bad news is this is the first of a 2-parter. And tomorrow morning I'm working on part 2, which I plan to give 10 years from now at your 100. There's nothing left for me to say but happy birthday, Bob.